I've never seen a game so confidently shoot itself in the foot and then attempt to run a marathon, is something I said to a reviewer friend of mine when describing Lords of Ragnarok, who then said to me,
"That is a great line."
Was that Elijah Wood? Anyway, I thought, let's use that line to open the review, but then I thought it's a bit cheesy, so let me do this instead. In all my time reviewing board games, I've never felt so sure in saying, this is a terrible game.
Wait, just to be clear, I'm not saying any of this, because I've never played the game. I don't want any responsibility in case you're wrong, Efka. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my god! Grow a backbone, Elijah! In Lords of Ragnarok, players take on the role of mythical heroes from Scandinavian folklore. Lori, Dory, Bori, Gory, Fori, and Snorri. That last one is real, and also a name I used to sleep under. In addition to your hero, you'll have armies, a ship, and some priests, and the big twist is that there's future tech, so, Nordic lasers? Yeah, sure, okay. Why not? Not only is Lords of Ragnarok a troops on a map game, a genre where you move armies around hoping to control various territories, Risk, but it is also a sequel to a game that is moderately well regarded, Greasy Lasers. With a genre so established and an existing framework, it's hard to imagine how we got here like that. At worst, I was expecting this game to be mediocre, uninspired, dull. Not busted. So let's take a look at how it works. The goal of every game is to be the first person to reach one of the 3 winning conditions. Nice! Clearly signposted territories that we have to fight over. This makes sense. Lands are these big regions of a single color, and together 3 lands make up pretty much half of the board. To achieve this, your opponents would have to be 1. Babies, 2. Asleep, 3. Too busy to pay any attention to the game because they're currently piloting an airplane. Theoretically, this is possible. Practically, you have 9 territories you have to defend and only 6 pieces to defend them with. In every game there is a boss. If you have just the core box, it's Loki. But if you, like me, sadly pledged for... you have other choices for game bosses. This one's going to need a bit more work to untangle, so here are some condensed rules. Let's contextualize things. The objective of the game is to mostly control territories. But this win condition says destroy the big dork and you win instead, which again, in theory, is sound. It's like political leverage. If you get too many votes, I'll post incriminating deets, that sort of thing. Naturally, a third of the game's mechanisms tie around this concept, and a third of the game's miniatures as well. You can't just attempt to defeat Loki. First, you need to defeat 2 other monsters, or partially defeat monsters. I'll spare you the details. Fighting either starts a whole minigame of playing combat cards, covering up wound slots, getting rewards. Is this even a good mechanism? Imagine 3 people engaged in a fight over territories, and one person ignores all of that, plays their own game, which you can't affect, and then just wins. Is that fun? Well, sadly, there's just no way of knowing because practically this isn't doable. No, really, you can't do this. First of all, there isn't enough time to achieve this, and I'll explain why in just a little bit. But also, whilst defeating monsters is a moderately fun and marginally rewarding activity, defeating Loki himself is so preposterously hard that it might not actually be possible. As in, I tried to do this outside of the game by cheating and maxing out all my stats, and I still couldn't do it. But don't take my word for it. According to a review by Charlie Thiel on Player Elimination, there was, at the time of publishing, no known instance of someone being able to achieve this. Now imagine me telling you none of that matters. I guess you don't have to because I just did, because it doesn't. These 3 win conditions are rendered meaningless because most games of Lords of Ragnarok do not end by someone achieving them. At some point, the game just throws a tantrum as if upset by your audacity at attempting to enjoy it and just says, it's over, and enacts This is Yggdrasil, and it's not a territory, it's the action disc. The weird thing about this game is that what your armies do and what your hero does are sort of separate things. Armies can move about, fight other armies, control territories, that sort of thing. Your hero can also take control of a territory, but mostly trundles around the map, collecting resources, building temples, making alliances with neutral factions, fighting monsters. These are called special actions, and your hero gets to do one each turn by placing a disc on one of the slots on Yggdrasil, or taking off all the discs and then building the next part of a giant miniature representing one of the game's three gods, Buffman, or Wisdomous Lady. Are we doing this? Are we still really doing this? Like I said, Yggdrasil isn't really a territory, but if Ragnarok happens, then the territories adjacent to Yggdrasil become the only thing that matters, because whoever controls most of them becomes the winner of the game. There are 5 Ragnarok cards, each featuring a condition, like building one of these monument miniatures or maxing out one of your attributes. If 3 of these conditions are ever achieved, then Ragnarok is triggered and players have one more round to scramble for the territories near Yggdrasil. But note that the original 3 win conditions are also represented on these Ragnarok cards, but the Ragnarok version is achieved earlier. If, for some reason, you're trying to win by killing Loki, then you need to defeat 2 monsters first. But defeating 2 monsters will immediately flip one of the Ragnarok cards before you can even try to defeat Loki. And other Ragnarok cards, like building 1 monument, just sort of achieve by themselves during the course of play. Or in other words, for most of the game, 3 things matter and thing 4 doesn't, but then in some plays, the 3 things that mattered stop mattering and the thing that didn't matter now does. Which means in 95% of the games, trying to achieve the 3 standard win conditions, including one that has a bunch of miniatures and mechanisms tied around it, does not matter. Does that make any sense to you? Okay, imagine you're playing football or soccer if you're American adjacent. It's minute 89, it's 0-0. For some reason, no one seems to be able to score a goal. Your coach calls you over, hands you this, and says, right, I need you to score a 3-pointer. And in that moment, you realize your entire career was meaningless, and now you're tired, this isn't worth it, you want to go home. Our general review philosophy is that we don't just want to recite the rules to the game, we want to highlight how the game feels. What are the highs? What are the lows? What is the experience? But my only experience of Lords of Ragnarok is how it's incomprehensible. I mean, I understand the rules, I just don't understand why they are the way they are. Like, what are they doing? What's the point? And there are cool rules in Lords of Ragnarok, and I've deliberately omitted explaining the majority of this game. For example, when you place Loki somewhere, armies can't go into that territory. And that immediately sounds cool because it's derivative of El Grande, and you think, oh, it's the El Grande bit where you can block a region. But for most of the game, that doesn't matter, because the other core rules, like the whole idea of the game, doesn't function. None of these elements cohere into anything interesting. It's just pushing miniatures around for hours for no reason whatsoever. That's just the thing that happens with board games sometimes. Plenty of designers swing wide, and apologies for extending the sports ball analogy, not every one of them's a home run. But it's one thing to have a plucky go, and another thing to sell me something that looks like it's going to come with a 4-wheel drive, all-leather interior, and a 6-liter engine. This box is just more monsters, a whole box dedicated to a win condition that's incompletable. I know that we've been fairly critical of publisher Awakened Realms in the past, so let me say 2 things here. First, I promise you that the next time we cover an Awakened Realms game, it's going to be a positive one. Second, I don't want to make it seem like I think they maliciously designed a bad game. It's pretty clear that many of these weird mechanisms are just design responses to perceived flaws of Lords of Ragnarok's predecessor, Lords of Hellas. But this, and this, that all takes time and effort that's diverted from just making the core rules enjoyable.
We did way too much!
There are instances, miracles, where you get 5 boxes and it's good. But in most cases, and clearly this case, the publishers did not leave themselves enough time to actually deliver the game that they are promising. So no, I don't think anyone wanted to make a bad game, but it is clear that Awakened Realms never figured out how these changes actually play out in practice. That was not their priority. This, on the other hand, and it's happening more and more, and naturally you could feel frustrated because you chucked upwards of €250 into this thing, depending on what options you selected in the crowdfunding campaign. But to be brutally honest, well, of course they're doing that. That is their literal business model. Make big boxes with lots of extra boxes, and then to sustain growth, they need to make even more big boxes with extra boxes faster. And they'll keep doing it, and they'll keep cutting corners as long as you keep buying them. In isolation, Lords of Ragnarok is an emporium of mistakes. In context, it's a symptom that this whole crowdfund a Dubai-sized board game gimmick is unsustainable and will eventually stop producing games that are playable. And you can append it by either not backing these projects or choosing to only back the core box. Fight with your wallet, not with angry comments. If you leave an angry comment or even a displeased one, you're just opening the door for a "we hear you." Whereas if your wallet says, "I want less boxes and more game," then they're forced to rethink their business model. If you want an alternative recommendation for cool troops on a map game, Kemet is still good, Ankh is the big many box experience that's somehow actually great, and Inish is a neat example of what if this genre, but weird. Whereas Lords of Ragnarok has as much credibility as a floating carrier bag trying to pass as a seagull. It rams every ounce of its box with high street chic, but it never stops itself to think, why? It's entirely possible that this video saved you some money because you did not back the crowdfunding campaign and instead waited for independent board game media like us to review it first. How are we independent, you might ask? Well, because we don't have any financial ties to board game publishers and instead rely on support from viewers like yourselves via a website called Patreon, where you give us a bit of money every month and in exchange you'll get bonus episodes of our podcast Talk Cardboard and a nice community space on our Discord server. The link is in the description. Or instead you can just subscribe and get more videos. We post videos every other Monday and we post our podcast every other Monday. So if you click subscribe, I'll see you on Monday.
Goodbye, Efka, no pun included. That's the end of my contribution to your work.